So when I was a teenager, I used to hang around my grandfather's house. He lived alone, not far from my parents, and I thought that he knew magic. So one day, a blonde, beautiful woman visited him and brought a picture of a guy and a short hair. And she said, he and I have been dating for 2 years, and he never proposed. And I think that his mother wants to break up our relationship because I'm a little bit older and I'm divorced single mom. So I was wondering if you could do any kind of some sort of magic. And my grandpa looked at the picture and said, "Oh, I know him, and he's gonna propose to you in no time." And then he put his hand on the picture and the hair and whispered something. And then he said, "Consider it's done, but you need to be proactive yourself." So when the woman left and thanked him and left, I asked my grandfather. I said, "How do you know that guy from the picture?" And Grandpa said, "He once tried to play a joke on me. That guy brought me a long black hair and told me to put a spell on it. What he didn't tell me, though, that he pulled that hair out of his neighbor's horse." And guess what happened? That very evening, the horse broke out of stables, ran to his house, and tried to break into his house. Well, I never verified if that story was true, but a couple of weeks later, I was hanging at my grandpa's place again, and this one time an old lady came. And she had the picture of that guy and the blonde woman. And she said, "This is my son, and he proposed to this woman. Even though she's older than him, and she's divorced and has 2 children. So the only way my son could be so blind as to propose to this awful woman is that she put some kind of spell on him. So did you do this?" My grandpa said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." She said, "People said she visited you, and everybody also knows that you are doing some black magic." And Grandpa said, "Look, if I had such a talent to make people do what I wanted, I wouldn't waste it on your son. Instead, I would sit in front of TV, every news, and I would make Gorbachev to withdraw the troops from Afghanistan, to stop the nuclear arm race, and to increase my pension." And years later, actually, my grandpa confessed to me. He said, "When my magic came true, I was surprised myself. Then when Gorbachev withdrew the troops from Afghanistan and ended the arm race, and I said, 'What about your pension? Did Gorbachev raise your pension?' Grandpa said, 'No, that part didn't work for some reason.'" Anyway, when the old lady left, I said, "Wow, Grandpa, your magic worked. He proposed." And the grandpa said, "I need to tell you something. In our family, somebody always inherits the talent for magic. However, in order to balance that talent, we always have in our extended family 7 fools. So when somebody dies, another fool is born or married into our family so that it would stay always 7. And I said, Grandpa, are you trying to tell me that I'm one of those 7 fools? Because apparently you are the one with magic. Grandpa said, actually, I think that you inherited my magic talent. Because you always appreciate it and hang around with me. And I'm going to teach you a spell. So he told me, say, I seek refuge from the Lord of Daybreak, and then say your wish, and it will work. So next day at school, I told about it to my first cousin, Janti. Janti and I were in the same class together, and after the class, we stayed to play soccer, and Janti said, why don't you put a spell on our gates? And I thought, that's a great idea. So I put my hand on the gate and I said, I seek refuge from the Lord of Daybreak for this gate not to have any goal. And then it worked. Like the other team was much better than us, but they never could deliver a goal. And by the end of the first half, we delivered 2 goals. So it was 2-0. We were winning 2-0. Then we had a break, and then we exchanged the goals, the gates. And soon the other team delivered the first goal. So it was like we were winning still 2-1. And then my cousin Janti ran to me and said, you need to go and break the spell and then put it on our new gates. So I left my position as a defense on the right flank, and I ran to the gate. I put my hand on it and said, I seek refuge from the Lord of the Daybreak and break the spell on this gate. But while I was doing my magic, they attacked from the right flank and even the score, 2-2. So I instantly ran back to our gates, put my hand on our gates and started saying, I seek refuge from the day of the Lord, from the Lord of Daybreak to seal this gate. But I didn't, while I was delivering the last words, the ball hit me in the head and got into our gate. And we lost 2-3. So in the locker room, the whole team cornered me, and the captain said, why did you leave your position on the right flank? And Janti tried to defend me. He said he put spell on the old gate, and then he needed to break it in order, but it didn't make sense to anybody. And the captain said, Janti, you stay out of it. And then he turned toward me and said, and what were you doing when the third ball hit your stupid head and got into the gate? And I said, I tried to put spell on the new gate. And that's when everybody started laughing. And I thought, well, at least they didn't beat me up. But I got so unpopular that day that even my cousin Janti didn't dare to go with me home. So I was walking home alone, and I was mad at Janti because the whole thing was his idea to put spell on the gates, and then at the end he didn't he wasn't there for me. So, and I thought he's just a fool like others, and I thought I'm never gonna go to his house again and play with him. And his twin sisters Dina and Dana are also fools because they always fight with us, girls against the boys. And his parents are also fools because they always take the side of the girls. And then I suddenly realized that they were 5 fools. But I couldn't figure among our relatives who were the other 2 fools, because they should be 7. So in the evening at the dinner, I asked my father, I said, Dad, did you hear about this grandpa's thing about 7 fools? And Dad said, sure. And I said, well, I can count only 5. Dad said, okay, who are they? And I said, well, Uncle Yuri, Aunt Maria, and my cousins Genti, Dina, and Dana. And my mother said, well, that's not nice of you to say. They always invite you to stay over at their house. And Dad said, no, that makes sense, at least about my brother Yuri. And I said, yeah, but that's only 5. What about the other 2? And my dad said, why? You just count yourself and Grandpa, so it makes 7 of them. But I said, so actually that made my mom laugh. And she never laughs to Dad's jokes unless we have guests at the house. So I said, actually, my grandpa told me that I inherited his magic. And Mom said, well, your grandpa unfortunately is superstitious, but he's a very kind man. But Dad said, well, one can't be both kind and try to put spell on other people. And that actually was eye-opening for me. And that's when I decided to give up kindness and become a magician. Well, I'm kidding, actually. I realized that I didn't inherit my grandfather's talent for magic, but I always thought later that I inherited my father's talent for humor.